Hi there, I'm Jeanette Lane for Simply Cards and Papercraft magazine, and in today's video I wanted to show you how to use the 9-piece Nautical Scenes die set included in issue 192 to create this masculine card. So this was really fun because I used the dies in the set, but I also used the 16 papers included, which are free to download, and I will make sure to have that link for you in the video description so that you can grab your downloads and get to crafting. So let's get started. To start off our card, I have a piece of craft core cardstock that I've created into a card base. Now this is great cardstock because, as you can see, there's a craft color on this side here. So what you can do is you can scratch off some of that color, kind of distress your paper with either a sanding block or a piece of sandpaper. This is my sanding block from Kaisercraft, which I cannot live without. So I'm just gonna sand the edges of this, and as you sand it, you'll see some of that top color come off, and you'll get this nice little weathered effect, which I think is perfect for nautical themed kind of cards. Anything that is like a beachside kind of theme that you're going for, it's always nice to have this distressed effect with those cards. So there you can see how we weathered the edges of our card just to give it a more beachy kind of nautical look. And you can use a sanding block. You can also try a nail file as well. I think it's just a really effective way to get that weathered look on your projects. So next I have this pattern here, and this is from the 16 papers that are available to download for free with your issue. And I'm just going to create a mat here. So I'm going to eyeball that. I guess I could grab a ruler and measure all of this precisely, but I don't know, it just seems easier to me this way, a quick way to create a mat for my card. So I'm really happy with this gorgeous color and pattern on this paper. But again, I'm going for that distressed kind of beachside look. You know how all those like seaside cottages have that weathered effect? That's what I'm going for my card. So what I'm gonna do is I'm also going to distress my printable. Same thing, so I'm just gonna go over it and sand it just a bit, and it's going to pull some of that color off, some of that pattern that we have going there, and give my printable just kind of a different look. So this is what my printable looks like after I have sanded it just a bit, and you can see the difference there in the pattern. So this one definitely looks a little bit more weathered and worn. And so now I want to add a little bit of distress ink in the color tea dye. So I'm grabbing my mini ink blending tool and my tea dye distress ink, and I'm just gonna go over the edges of my printable here and kind of go over kind of the whole thing as well to give it that worn and weathered look. Okay, so I can go ahead and glue down my mat and my layer to complete my card base, most of my card base. So I'm going to use my Stick to tape runner, for the back side to add that adhesive. I'm not using liquid adhesive, which I generally gravitate towards because I just printed my printables on regular copy paper, and so that will sometimes get that adhesive, liquid adhesive will sometimes get a little bit lumpy. So I am sticking with my tape runner for now so that I don't have any lumps in my cards. So I wanted to create some interest here by just cutting a strip. I want to say it's about a 1.5 inch wide strip down the side here. And so I have this pattern for my printable. And of course I've already used some of it, so it's not that small. So just to clarify. So what I'm going to do is just trim a 1.5 inch wide little strip here. And I also want to weather this strip, so I'm just going over it with my sanding block and of course adding some of that tea dye color, just so that my whole theme is kind of cohesive and consistent. Now what's great about printables is that you can get different effects. So like me, I am sanding, distressing the surface of my printables and giving them that worn and weathered look. But you can also, don't forget that you can print them on so much more than cardstock. You can print your printables on vellum. I think this particular design on printable vellum, that particular design on printable vellum would be absolutely stunning. Or you can also do your designs on craft colored cardstock, which this would look completely different if you printed this on craft. So there's really so much more that you can do with printables. So don't forget that you can use more than just white cardstock for your printables or copy paper. You can do vellum. You can even print on acetate as well. There's printable acetate that's available that you can find. But yeah, just a really fun, quick little way to make your printables look a little bit different than the original designs, which is always fun. So now I'm just going to trim this down because it's a little bit too big. So I'm just going to use my pencil and mark it on the back and trim that down. Easy breezy. And since I trimmed off the top, I need to put some tea dye ink, distress ink, just on the bottom and the top now. That is looking great. I'm really happy with how this is turning out. And next I wanted to add just a little bit of twine to my card before I start die cutting everything else. I kind of did things a little bit backwards today. I don't know if you noticed that. Usually I start off with the with all the little elements and then I do my card base. But I thought it would just be better to show you how to make the most of your printables and different little things that you can do to just give them more life so that you can do more with your printables, which is fun because you'll always have an unlimited supply of these printables. All right, so here is some twine that I'm using, and usually I would just wrap this around a few times, call it a day, but today I wanted to do something different. So I'm adding just little knots throughout, super easy, just to add some interest to my card, just so that it's not like straightforward, you know, just my usual twine that I use. So it adds a little bit of texture, additional texture, a little bit of interest, a little bit of fun. Okay, so I am happy with my little knots. So now what I want to do is just secure them to the back of this strip with some washi tape, and then we can glue that down to our card. So I'm going to just put that strip there. So I'm just going to add some washi tape to the back of this to secure it so it doesn't move anywhere, and you won't be able to see the washi tape. So you can use any color that you have in your stash. So that's what that looks like. So really nice on the front, not so great on the back, but you won't be able to see it because we're just going to glue it down right about there. Okay, so I'm going to set my card base aside and I'm going to focus on the tiny little elements in our card. To die cut, I'm going to be using my Sizzix Big Shot Fold Away. So first thing I want to do, which is the focal point of my card, is this fun lighthouse. I absolutely love this lighthouse. So here is the die. So I'm going to run that through my machine just on some white cardstock. I'm going to trim it down to fit my circle die, which I will die cut in just a bit. So lots of die cutting coming your way. Let me know if you have a moment in the comment section. What kind of die cutting machine do you use? Let me know. I'm sure some of you collect die cutting machines. I'm sure you have maybe more than one. At home, I use a Big Shot. So just a regular Big Shot. I would love to have a fold away because that would mean I would have more room in my craft corner. So yeah, look at that. Isn't that so fun? I mean, just even that, you could do something really great with that. But what we're gonna do is snip this away because I need it for later. So I'm gonna set that there. And then I need to die cut. I might as well die cut the birds from the white cardstock since I have it out already. So I'm just gonna die cut the two little birds. Flying in the distance, I'll just die cut it right there for my white cardstock and save that for later. So I need to die cut the lighthouse again from red. So here, you can see that I did a little bit of paper piecing, so I'm going to die cut it again, which I'm not mad about at all because I absolutely love the lighthouse. That's definitely my favorite die in these nautical scene set. So next I'm going to die cut these two out of craft. So we're just gonna roll those through. Lots of die cutting. You can definitely build up your scene with the different dies included. There's a lot of inspiration, like I mentioned, in the magazine itself, in the issue 192. Don't miss it. Don't miss the inspiration inside of issue 192. You're gonna be so inspired. The design team is awesome. Like, you cannot miss what they've made. They just leave you like just incredibly inspired, and you want to start crafting right away, which is always a good thing. Okay, I think I'm almost done die cutting. I have just this circle here to die cut, and this is just a circle in my stash that I wanted to use. This is from the Creative Plus Wonky Stitches collection. So they're the nesting circles, sorry. Wonky Stitches nesting circle dies. So I'm just going to cut that from this blue core cardstock. So this is really fun. This has some blue, once you, sand down your paper, it has blue on the other side, which will pop through, which I thought worked really well with our card. Okay, so this is definitely all of my die cuts. Now I want to grab this seashell. There's different elements for you to pick from, like this starfish would be really nice too, or this lifesaver, but I really love this seashell, and I'm also going to cut out my with love sentiment that I'm going to use on my card. You can also use happy birthday, or there's a blank option here, a blank little banner, bunting banner, so that you can use your own stamps that you have in your stash with this card. I don't know, I'm just really happy about the little elements, the toppers that you can cut out that are free. You can get those for free. Don't forget to check out that link in the video description so that you can get some gorgeous printables to create beautiful nautical scenes. So here are all the elements that are going to go on my card front. So I need to make my lighthouse first, because again, like I mentioned, it's my favorite. So what I'm going to do is just add some of this tea dye color just at the edge, just right here. I'm going to snip off this excess in just a bit. So I just wanted to weather it a little bit so that it matches, and then we are done with the tea dye for now. And I wanted to assemble my little lighthouse, so I'm just going to snip right into this die cut here so that I can add that, do a little bit of paper piecing, layer that piece there, and get a nice stripy lighthouse for our card. So I'm just adding a little bit of adhesive behind every little itty bitty piece and just gluing it right on top. So that is what our little lighthouse looks like now. Okay, so next I'm going to distress my circle here, my die cut circle, and you'll see that blue core come right out. Comes to the surface. Beautiful. So now what I can do is glue my lighthouse down. Right about there looks good, and then once I glue it down, I can trim off this excess here. So let's glue down our lighthouse since we have it in our hand, just so we don't forget. And then we can also add our birds in the background, since we're already building up our little scene in our circle. So we can just add the birds. There's our little scene that's going to go right there on our card with our sentiment right on top. Let me weather my sentiment just a little bit. It looks too nice and new. We're just going to weather that just a hair with our sanding block, just to stress that a little bit. And there it is. Just looks a little bit like it's been on the beach. And I'm going to do the same thing with my seashell here. So I'm just going to go over it with my sanding block just a little bit. And there is my seashell. So that's going to go somewhere there. So now I have these two die cuts left, and this one I wanted to ink up in a different color because, I don't know, it felt like it needed to be in a different shade of brown other than just craft cardstock. So I have gathered twigs. So all I'm going to do is just go over this whole thing with gathered twigs, and then I can have my die cut be brown instead of just craft. I feel like it gets lost if it's just craft colored. So there it is. That's a little bit darker. And I also wanted to add some of this gathered twigs on the edges here Easy way to add some interest to your die cuts is just adding a little bit of distressing along the edges. So now it's time to glue everything down, and I'm going to be using a few different adhesives. I'm going to use foam tape. I'm going to use foam tape and mostly my Dry's Clear liquid adhesive. So I'm just putting a little bit of foam tape behind this here with our washi tape, which really does not look attractive from the backside. But no worries, it's gonna look beautiful once we're all done. So we're just gonna glue that there. And now we can glue our main focal point. So that's gonna go right about there. And for that, I wanted to use some of this leftover foam dots here that I had. So you see the foam dots were there previously. So I just like to use everything. Always use your whatever you can, just so you can make the most of what you have purchased. And then my sentiment is going to go right about there, but for that I'm going to use my Sticks to tape runner. Just add a little itty bitty bit and then glue that down. That looks good. And for my sailboat die cut, I'm using some foam tape as well, just putting that there. That looks good, happy with that. And then I can put that one there and this one here. It's just really about playing around with your little elements that you have, your little toppers, just so you can kind of see. I mean, you can even put it over here or down here. I just really like how it looks. I feel like my seashell is getting just a little bit lost here. So what I'm gonna do is just ink the edges. So I'm gonna grab pumice stone and just go over, maybe just add a little bit of color here to the edges so that it stands out just a little bit more. It seems to be fading into the background, and it's so pretty we don't want it to fade into the background. So just adding a little bit of this pumice stone around the edges. Okay, so I'm just gonna put my seashell there, and that is gonna require a bit of foam tape. So I'm just going to double this up to get some extra depth there for my little seashell. So all of my elements are glued down, and now I just wanted to add a bit of these peachy pearls here. So nothing, again, nothing too colorful, just a very subtle hint of color. My pearls are on and I'm done with my card. Don't miss out on getting your own Nautical Scenes 9-piece die set and also the 16 papers that are included to download immediately. You can download those right now by just clicking the link in the video description. And this is issue 192, so you can keep an eye out for it on newsstands, or also you can get it at craftstash.co.uk or moremags.com. I'm Jeanette Lane for Simply Cards and Papercraft. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you in a video real soon. Bye!